Hello everyone and welcome to Ineffable InTech. Today is my first class of 9 where I teach simple or complicated functions in Excel. Today's class will focus on logic functions represented in the form of if statements. So if you go ahead and click on the link underneath this video, you should be directed to an Excel file, and upon opening it, please go into the first tab titled In Class 1, and we'll adjust the viewpoint to 120 or anything that's easier for you. And as you can see, we have two questions. The first question has what's called a condition followed by a positive and negative, or otherwise known as a true and false argument. Now, what the question is really trying to determine is if a student has a particular grade that is greater than or equal to 40, then that student will either pass or fail. Excel will look for whether that grade is above or equal to 40 and assign it either a true or false argument, represented as pass and fail. So we'll go ahead and start typing the formula. And all formulas begin with the equal sign. And in this particular formula, we are using the if statement. And after beginning the if statement, we want to open up parentheses so that we can insert our condition and our true and false arguments. For this particular question, we want to measure the student's grade of 35, which is represented by cell B2. And after inserting cell B2, we go ahead and type in the operator, which is greater than or equal to the number 40. And this is the condition. And the condition is always separated by the true and false arguments with a comma. So again, if student A has a mark of 35% or B2 that is greater than or equal to 40, then he or she will either pass, which is represented by PASS in quotations, or comma, fail, which is again inside quotations. Now let's make sure to close up these parentheses and hit enter. And as you can see, Excel looked for the person's grade and assigned him or her a fail. And if you want to write out this formula 26 times, you don't have to. Excel does the heavy lifting for us. And what I mean by that is, I want you to bring your cursor to cell C2, go to the bottom right corner, and when you see the black plus sign, click on your mouse and drag all the way down. It repeats the formula for each of the following cells. And let's go ahead to move on in question 2. Question 2 is asking a similar question but has a few more requirements. And like question 1, we'll begin our function with an equal sign, and we are inserting an if statement and opening up a parentheses. So what kind of argument or what kind of condition will go inside this parentheses? Well, again, we are measuring whether the student receives an A against his or her mark. So the condition begins with the mark, which is B2, and again, the greater than or equal to operators followed by the number 85. So if a student has a grade that is greater than or equal to 85, he or she will receive the true argument of A. But because we have several more requirements, we're not ready to put in the false statement or false argument yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace where we would normally put a false statement with another if statement, because again, there are several more requirements represented by letters B, C, D, and F. So similar to what we just did, we type in IF, open up the parentheses, and hit cell B2, type in the same operators, which is greater than or equal to, and this time we are looking to see if this student has a grade of greater than or equal to 70. And if he or she does, they will receive a grade of B. Moving on, type in the if statement again, replacing the if statement or replacing the false argument with the if statement. We want to go ahead and open the parentheses, and again we want to click on cell B2, the student's grade, because if that grade is greater than or equal to the number 55 this time, then that student will receive the grade of C. And the final if statement will read if the student has a mark which is represented by cell B2, which is greater than or equal to 40, then he or she receives a grade of D. Now, considering that D is the lowest possible grade you can get, represented by greater than or equal to 40 before you fail, then fail would be the obvious false statement. So what we want to do is we want to put F in quotations like the remaining letters, and this is what we have to do. Close up each parentheses. You'll see them represented by different colors, and you'll know you close the parentheses once the black parentheses appears. Go ahead and click enter or return, and there you go. Student A received the grade of F. And what Excel did was look to see if whether or not it fell inside one of these 4 or 5 categories and assigned it a grade. And again, Excel does the heavy lifting for us. Just bring your cursor to the bottom right corner of the cell until you see the black plus sign and drag it all the way down to the bottom, and there you go. Now let's move on to the next tab, which is titled In Class 2, which will be in a separate video.